Welcome to the next Nix Hour. We don't have any question here in the room. If you do have a question, feel free to always join the meeting. Ideally, use the various chats, though ideally the Jitsi chat, I think. But yeah, if we don't have a question, we generally talk about either something else, or ideally we would also cover some issues in the Nix Hour repository here. And actually, I see one here, this one, which I think I wanted to talk about some weeks ago. Well, 2 weeks ago, I think. So yeah, let's take a look at this actually. So question, can I extend nixpkgs.lib or built-ins with my own library functions? And the use case here is a custom fetcher. So yeah, how could you make it available as builtins.fetch URL? So, all right, and overlay, extending built-ins, global library for use instead of lakes. Yes. So the kind of straightforward answer to this, let's do a Nix Hour here. That's 32 today. So if we have a packages, let me increase the font size a bit. And let's do just this for now. So if we have this, and then usually we get the lib, something like this. And now let's say we want to have our own fetcher, which is, I mean, I guess we can, let's not copy this one exactly. Let's do my fetcher equals, let's say args, and then throw implementation. All right, now we want to use this as lib.myFetcher. So this does work, but we need to actually add it to lib. And the issue here that it was linked is, actually that's a issue. It's not a PR. But yeah, so it's at some point in the past, like a couple of years ago, I think by now, I introduced this lib.extend, which is like an overlay system, but for lib. So we can say my lib, or actually let's extend the lib up here. We can say lib.extend, and then we can just add an overlay here. And so I'm just gonna say my fetcher in here, args, and throw my implementation. And let's test this. Next build or instantiate eval the current file. Oh, like this. Well, it gives a lambda. Let's do. So that's actually a bit unfortunate when the function is a lambda. So in this case, we have the argument up here. Nix instantiate or like nix build as well won't really evaluate it. If we pass a single argument, doesn't really matter what the argument is, it will do it as we expect or what we want. So we can kind of hack around it using this. Actually, no, not arg. Let's use arg string. So yeah, this is a bit of a hacky way to get around this limitation. Yeah, so that now we get that the implementation is actually called. And so you might wonder why use lib.extend when you could just do like // to override it. So we might as well imagine doing this. And so let's call this lib prime. And this works the same way in this case. As well, the implementation is called. However, it doesn't work when, for example, it doesn't work in NixOS. So if we want to try lib NixOS test, or let's say module test, it doesn't have to be NixOS. Module system test. Let's try with this lib first. So lib.eval modules, be a simple use of it, and then modules, and let's say we have a module in here that takes lib as an argument. And so now let's try calling this in here. Let's say we have an option declaration. Let's make this lib.make option. Actually options.foo, and then let's say we have a default which is equal to this my fetcher thing. So my fetcher, and like this. All right, close this here. And now let's try this module system test, and let's access this option.foo here, .config.foo. And oh, it actually does work. Hold on. Lib, this does work indeed. Hold on a second. Yeah. Okay, lib implementation. The implementation is called indeed. Okay, that's slightly surprising. I don't think that should work. Lib comes from here. This lib is, oh, no, I demonstrated the original lib here. So this does work if we use lib.extend. So the actual lib, the changed lib, is propagated into the module system under here. If we use the lib prime here with the / override, this wouldn't work. So let's try this again now. And yeah, this gives us the error that the fetcher is missing. So yeah, if you need to extend lib to use inside NixOS, you can do, this is the recommended way of doing it. All right, and then let's see, unified overridable. Oh, actually, no, this is the wrong one. So yeah, so this is how to extend nixpkgs.lib. What about built-ins? So there's well, the answer is no to that question, but there's some ways of kind of getting around it. So one way is to say, well, we can just kind of redefine built-ins. So at the top of our file here, we could say built-ins is equal to the original built-ins, which in this case doesn't work because actually the, I mean, let's try it out. So let's are recursive. So this will be a recursive, a infinite recursion error. But let's try it here. My fetcher, I'm going to copy this in here. And now let's try this down here. Let's try, actually, I'm going to do this here. Result. Yeah, result. Let's define it here. So the result equals builtins.myFetcher. And let's try this, and we get infinite recursion. That's as expected because lets are recursive. So one way to get around this, and this is like a hack within a hack, is to have a separate let in definition where we redefine the original built-ins. So we do it like this. And then in here, we use the renamed one. Now we get the implementation that we want. But yeah, don't do this. This is very hacky, but I'm going to go one step further, and that is to use the, or to showcase a bit of the builtins.scopedImport primitive. Because now, I mean, we redefined this built-in and it's valid in this current file, but what if you want this to be the case for all files you, for further files you want to import? So let's say I have a separate file, file.nix, and let's say in here we use builtins.myFetcher with some arguments. All right, now usually if you were to evaluate this, you would get builtins.myFetcher is missing. But if we do it like this, so result, I'm gonna do, I'll just import file.nix, gives the same result. My fetcher is missing. But if we use builtins.scopedImport, we can actually give a scope in here that the file is called with. So in here, we could say builtins is equal to the builtins we have in the current scope. Now, this actually works. We get the implementation. And this could be even done further. So, I mean, here, the problem is then, well, what if you import further files from the other one? So if we had an import another file in here, and this right, and in the other file, we would then have a builtins.my fetcher. In this case, we would want to go even further and override the import primitive in here and say like, oh, import is not normal import anymore. It's actually a builtins.scopedImport with my custom scope here that I'm not going to bother declaring. But yeah, this is like, all of this is a hack. Don't do this. I'm just kind of showing the various ways of getting around the limitation, or to show what's possible. Maybe also briefly, oh, Yuri?
I actually find this scoped import always very dangerous and confusing, and I don't quite understand what it would be a legitimate use case for it. Because if a library suddenly uses scoped import, I had to deal with such library. It basically, well, you cannot just evaluate files that are supposed to be scoped imported, right?
Yeah.
So, what would be a good use case for it?
So actually, I created an issue here some time ago where I talk about like the different aspects of scoped import to see if it's actually a problem, what is a problem. So there is some information going around that scoped import doesn't allow file evaluation, like files to be cached anymore. So Nix has a per file Nix evaluation cache, independent of the flake cache actually. And here I go into details why that's actually not really a problem. And then also there's here, if you also can shadow built-ins, you can get this behavior that I just explained as hacky, which you don't really want. This is pretty bad. The other thing is, all right, the one up top here. This is the kind of an actual problem with builtins.scopedImport. That is that, right, you don't really know what are free variables of expressions anymore. So, right, in this file.nix, let's change this a bit and say scoped import a is equal to 1 and b is equals to 2. And now in the file in here, we say a plus b. And so by default, this would not be a valid Nix expression because we don't have a variable a defined in scope here. But with the scoped import, this evaluates just fine. And so yeah, I'm not sure if there's a good use case for this. There are perhaps some like you want a kind of nicer user interface where users might need a lot of variables in scope by default or something. I honestly no, I can't recommend it. But it is there, and well, yeah, no, not sure. Maybe it should be removed. But maybe if you have any use cases, I guess please mention them in this next issue here so we can collect them. All right, but so this is, don't do this. However, another way to add things to built-ins is using Nix plugins. And I'm actually gonna check if this is documented in the Nix manual. Let me search for plugin. Nix edit, experimental commands. That's a lot of matches, but none of them seem relevant. I guess, yeah, nix.conf, plugins, plugin files. So this is something you would have to change right in the nix.conf file. So might need, I guess you don't need admin privileges because you can also use a local nix.conf file, I think. But yeah, plugins allow you to extend the built-ins with further primitives. There's not a lot of details here, but there is, if you search for it, there is examples of this. I'm not actually, date plugin. I'm not entirely sure if I can think of an example right now, though. I have seen some around. Yeah, so I think if you search for a bit for it, you'll find it. Yeah, so that's plugins that you could also use. And this is actually fairly useful if you, right, especially if you need impure functionality in Nix. Because if you're Nix, you're limited to the pure language. But if you can implement the built-ins in C++, then you can pretty much do anything in there that you need, including getting access to things that Nix would normally consider impure, but in C++ you can expose it as pure. All right, let's see. So a fetcher here, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Fetchers, I wanted to say something about this. Plugin files, oh yeah. All right, wait, let me think for a second. A custom fetcher that I want to use everywhere. I think, I mean, overlays would be another way, but that's fairly standard. I guess just for completion, let's include it in here too. So I guess let's use this opportunity to showcase something, how you can add overlays to an already existing packages. So in here we import Nix packages, and actually I should like set overlays equals empty here. Otherwise we might risk having an impurity since I'm not using flakes again. But so let's say you have an already existing packages and you want to add an overlay. So there's two functions you can use for this. One of them is extend as well, the same as lib. And this is exactly the same syntax here, like this. And then my fetcher. And similarly, well, very similarly, you can use, let's say, custom or packages prime. Packages prime, let's use pkgs.appendOverlays. This is the same, but you can append multiple overlays. So you can say, find a fetcher in here. All right. And these should both work. Let's give it a try. Let's set the result to packages prime.myFetcher. All right, that works indeed. Yeah, maybe just a brief note about overlays. There's some confusion about when you should use self and super or final/prev. My kind of rule of thumb for this, rule of thumb, I think it's the correct way of doing this, is to use super when you're overriding that thing. So actually, let's try to get an example here. So we have an overlay here. So let's say you override hello with some extra phase or something. I don't know. Override attrs for this. And so here we're using super because in this overlay, we're overriding hello itself, or in this very definition, we're overriding hello. However, let's say we have actually that's an interesting case. Let's say we have a derivation that refers to itself. So let's actually create this up here, self-referential, self-ref DRV. Let's just create a super simple one. So I'm going to use self. Self should be the default. Now let's use self.stdin for actually a run command. And in here, I'm going to do, actually, I don't really need it to be that complicated. I can just do, that's a bit tricky. Let's use a self.lib.makeOverridable. It's kind of the underlying function to call package. And in here, we need to pass a function. I'm going to format it like this. So the function can take arguments, and the arguments can then later be overridden. And I'm going to pass self-ref drv here. Actually, do I know how to use makeOverridable? I don't think I do. Let's look at the implementation briefly. Customization, makeOverridable. Okay, there's some nice documentation in here. That's useful. So define a function, call makeOverridable. Why is then the function, call overridable with arguments. All right, and then we can override these arguments using the override function. All right, so let's try this. Make overridable, so we pass the function in the first argument. All right, and then what I'm going to do here is just inherit self-ref.drv.
I think it needs to be attribute set argument, not
Oh,
additional.
yes. I messed this up a bit here. Thanks. And second argument is the actual arguments. So in here, I'm just going to pass self-ref.drv equals self.self-ref.drv. We're getting really, really meta here, I feel like. So this should work. And let's actually set the result. Let's move this down here. Result is equal to self-ref.drv on packages prime. All right, and let's just verify this actually works. So let's do nix-repl on default.nix. And let's do, actually, well, let's import default.nix. Let's see what it is. Oh, it's lambda, fair enough. Let's call this. All right, and we get the result we expect. We have well, these are all the arguments added by makeOverridable, but we also have the argument that we exposed ourselves. So we can say self-ref.drv, and we get the same thing back. So it's a derivation that's self-referential. We can do this a whole bunch of times. All right, we could maybe also make something fun here, which is to say we expose the number. Let's say number is equal to 0. And let's say, so this is the starting number, but with every nesting, we want to increase the number by 1. So we're going to say number is equal to, actually, pass it here. Now we can do it like this. Let's do this. Number is equal to number plus 1. I'm not sure that's going to work. I think it's self-ref.drv dot number plus 1. Actually, I'm not even sure if that's going to work. Self-ref.drv references to the, no, I don't think that's going to work.
Try.
Never mind. Yeah?
We can try to see if it works.
Yeah, I guess yeah. Let's do let's do it like this. Ref.drv dot number. Nah, infinite recursion encountered. That can
maybe you need to do instead of inherit, you should do self-ref.drv dot number dot override number plus adding plus 1.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I guess that works. Self-ref.drv dot override. Yeah, that should work actually. Number equals self-ref.drv dot number plus 1. I'm not entirely sure if that's going to work.
Comment out inherit.
Yeah, and I believe we need an inherit number here.
Yeah. All
right, so this is 1. Self-ref.drv dot number. That still equals 1. Well, let's not worry about this. I didn't really want to show this actually.
Maybe use number instead of self-ref.drv dot number here.
Oh, that works. Yep, that works. Neat. So we can kind of track the nesting level of this. Nice, thanks. So yeah, okay, we have the self-referential derivation. Now let's try to override this. So actually, I'm gonna use the second overlay down here. So we have this one now. Let's do actually packages prime dot. Let's use AppendOverlays for some variety. And let's use self-ref_drv. So this is going to be an interesting example because I want to use both self and super. So I'm going to use super.self-ref_drv because I'm directly defining the attribute down here. And now I'm going to use override exposed by the makeOverridable. I'm going to say self-ref_drv equals self.self-ref_drv. I think it's like this. And then let's do something with it. Let's say number equals 0. Sure. And so this, well, I guess it didn't really work in this case. Oh, I guess it would be, we'd have to overwrite the number down out here. But so I just want to showcase this because we get the same result, but notably we don't get an infinite recursion error, even though we used self.self-ref_drv in our overlay in the definition of self-ref_drv itself. And so it's really only when you directly define the attribute here that you need to use super, so that the attribute here will replace, or actually the definition here will replace the attribute on the left-hand side. And that's when you want to use super. Yeah, and so super here would not be right because then we'd always have a reference to that layer. It wouldn't get replaced. Self here would give infinite recursion. Yeah.
So basically, if we add another overlay that overrides self-ref_drv and keep super here, then we will always have this super, right?
Yes, exactly. So, right, if we use super.self-ref_drv here, right, it would always refer to the original one defined up here. Anyways, this is so in the weeds here. This is too much self-referential and self and super here. Yeah, so actually I would like to find a Nix plugin. Actually, well, let's try to find something like that. Let's see. So I'm gonna try look at the Nix source code, see if there's a plugin in there. Plugins loaded. We can find some things in here. Plugins loaded, plugins initted. All right. Plugins.shell. Oh, tests. Plugins.shell. Plugin files. Okay, that looks pretty good. Lib plugin test. Let's do lib plugin. Oh, lib plugin test. Plugin test.cc. All right, we found something. And so I guess let's look at something that we could use as an identifier to search for. Global config register premup. Well, let's search for this, just very generically. So register premup on GitHub code and languages, I guess C++, although we would like something Nix related. And so these are all forks of Nix. I'm not sure if I can advanced owner. No, I don't want to do that. Exclude archived. Maybe
there was something in Rust. I think there was rnix eval in Rust, maybe.
Oh, maybe. Oh, nix-doc. Oh yeah, that's one of the examples I wanted to show. Okay, that works. So next, so actually it's a bit confusing. There's Nix doc without a dash, which is used in Nix packages to render documentation for library functions. Nix.doc, that is this one under Nix community. Yeah, this is used in Nix packages. This one isn't, but this is also useful. So a Nix plugin that adds a built-in that can display the signature and documentation for a Lambda object in a friendly format. And setup, so we can see somewhere in here, right, how to install it. You need to add plugin files. I guess we could try this out. It doesn't look that complicated. So it's in Nix packages already, so I shouldn't have to compile anything myself. And plugin files, this is what we need to do here. Oh, NixOS installation. Yeah, I'm using NixOS, so let's try that. And actually, it uses extra options here. There's a new way of doing this. Let's try that. And it says to add it to system packages as well. Let's just see what's up with that, because just for the next plugin, I imagine this would be enough, but I imagine it might add some further binaries, so it can do more. So let's go into yeah, sure, my config. Let's do default here, and let's say Nix build machines. Yes, actually down here we can see the kind of new way of setting things. So let me just clear a section here. So this is nix.settings, which is a kind of structured setting format for Nix and for a lot of NixOS modules. Using this, we can just do plugin files directly without having to wrap it as a string. So I'm going to copy this one here, wrap it in a string, and let me also do environment.system-packages. I believe it's set somewhere down there. So I'm just going to copy it, system packages, nix-doc, and let me rebuild. Meanwhile, let me just go into Nix packages here and build nix-doc and see what it contains. So it contains a binary and a library. I guess that's the binary is for environment.system packages and lib is for, right, the Nix plugin. And we have a failure. Oh, that doesn't look too good. So yeah, actually we can see one of the problems with plugins here, and that is that they depend, or they may depend on specific Nix versions. So in this case, I presume that that's what happened here. And
maybe we need to override Nix for that nix-doc, pkgs.nix-doc.
That could be it, yeah. So I'm gonna see here what the status is here. Fix 2.14 support. Okay, I guess, so currently I'm using 2.15, I believe. I don't think a lot of things changed into 2.15, so let's try to override it and make it work. So I guess to override, let's look at the definition. So we have built Rust platform. It takes Nix as a native build input, as build input. It takes, right, well, actually this definition here isn't super important. The one in Nix packages is. So let's look at that. Let's look at Nix edit nix-doc like this. So we can see, all right, Nix is added up here as a dependency. So we should be able to use .override and then pass our changed Nix. So I'm going to do this. Let's go into my config again, plugins, plugin files. I'm going to add this as an overlay actually. So nixpkgs.overlays. Self super like this. Now let's say nix-doc equals super.nix-doc because we override the attribute itself. override, and then nix is equal to, I'm going to say config. So this is my system config dot nix.package, I believe. So this is what your effective nix will be in the system. You can also look at this in the man page, nix.package. Yeah. So if we do this, we should be able to override this correctly. And then because it's an overlay, it will affect all the packages here and make it work correctly. All right, let's try this. Oh, syntax error. That's override. Oh, I flipped around the parents here. All right. And so, yeah, right. So that's a problem with plugins. Things might break, and there isn't really a stable interface for plugins. I'm not sure if this is already, well, this must have been reported in some issue upstream, I imagine. Plugin files. Quality. Yeah, I don't see anything immediately, but yeah, so this would be something where you might not want to use plugins. Requires maintenance. Builder failed with execute. Okay, so it built it successfully, but this still failed. That's not great.
Wait, but it still copied something from the cache. It didn't build it.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's weird. Let's just verify this. Overlays. Nix-doc, nix-doc. This looks pretty good to me. Do I have a bug in my own system builder? Let's try to figure this out. So I'm gonna do just a throw here to make sure I can know when it actually fails. And instead of doing a full system build, so I guess this depends on how your system is set up. Usually it would be just a NixOS rebuild build. I don't think you can just do an evaluation or an instantiation with NixOS rebuild. But what you could do if you used a flake, you should be able to do something like nix build NixOS or dot hash NixOS configurations, then your host name, and then it should be system. Oh, but actually the new CLI doesn't allow you to instantiate anything either. It should be nix eval actually. And then dot outpath, I believe. And actually maybe I can try this even. I think I should have a flake in here. Oh. Like this. Right. Let's move. Oh no, there is a flake here.
You shouldn't specify flag.nix on the CLI.
Right. And right doesn't provide the packages, Lexi. Right, I don't have a system configuration defined here.
Maybe it's config.
Oh, actually, no, I do have. NixOS configurations.sign.
Maybe it's config.system.
I guess. Yeah. Let's. Actually, I mean, let's try to figure this out using nixRepl. Let's just load the flake in here. Oh, is this? Oh, I guess this needs the extra experimental features and then nixRepl flake or something like this.
nixRepl flake without nix.
Oh, just REPL flake. All right, thanks. So NixOS configurations.sign. And the system doesn't exist, so it should be config.system. well, then it's build dot top level. This is a bit messy, but out path like this. Yeah, and so now we get it to actually properly evaluate. So let's do this. All right, so this is how you could just evaluate your system without necessarily building it. And in my case, my workflow is a bit different. I need to do something like this. Deploy, and then I can do kind of node cyan. And let's do let's do configuration system build top level. All right, okay, now we can actually have some faster iteration cycles here. So let's go.
We see white saying no. What's happening?
Oh, that's weird. Did someone else share their screen, or is it working again, maybe?
No. Oh, it's a whiteboard. Okay, someone.
Oh, I see.
Whiteboard.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. All right, now this works. We can iterate through this. Let's try to figure out why it doesn't work. So actually, let me copy this into Vim here. All right, so error, we do get an error indeed. Applied, we just do this. All right, so this does get applied. Now let's also do a super nix.override. Let's trace what the previous value of nix was here. Maybe it doesn't get changed. So let's add an argument here so we can access the old one. And let's do builtins.trace, changing nix from old to this one. All right, let's also make this a bit prettier. All right, now can I curse a set to a string? Yeah, so we can't directly print these. Oh, actually, this should be old.nix. I think we should be able, yeah, we should be able to print derivations directly. Okay, changing nix from nix 2.13.3 to 2.15.1. All right, so that seems to be correct. What else could be the problem? So complained that the plugin files wasn't correct, or it couldn't load the correct symbols.
Maybe check which nix is in the plugin files.
Yeah. Right. So let's try packages and nix-doc. So I don't actually think we can directly access the nix in there.
Built inputs.
Yeah, that works. It's a bit hacky though, but we can make that work. So I'm going to try trace packages and nix-doc dot build inputs, and if we want to be, let's look at nix-doc. Which build input is it? It is the second one. I hope that works and it wasn't changed in anywhere. So build inputs. Let's make this a bit more readable, but it's very unreadable if we just edit it in here anyways. Build inputs. All right, and now builtins.lm, or actually let's use lib.lm at 1 for the second element. And we don't want to trace the set. I believe this would just, yeah, it would print this, which we don't really want. We just want the out path to see what nix it is. And we can see it is indeed 2.15.1. Whereas if we don't apply the overlay, let's see what happens. If we remove this, then it is the old Nix. Yeah, so the overlay definitely works. Now I guess what we could also try is to, let's look a bit closer at the actual error here. So I'm going to first do one without our overlay. And instead of nix instantiate, I'm going to do a nix build because I want to get the error that happened during the build. So this way we use the old one for now. Any second now. All right, so could not dynamically open plugin file. Undefined symbol, it's this symbol, throw eval errors. And I just want to see if this actually changes once we do the rebuild. After that, I'm like more or less out of options other than just downgrading to the previous Nix version. Or it could be the nix-doc has like some further dependencies on the Nix version, which we can't as easily override. So let's try this. Actually, can I get the output back here? I'm not sure I can. Well, let's do it outside here. Nix build. Nix-doc. I guess we can check here what it means to fix 2.14 support to see if there's anything other than just fairly trivial changes. Build define, I mean, that looks fairly related. So actually, we might have to add a patch like this to make it work correctly. Oh, although this is the actual fix down here. This is just a symbol defined. All right, interesting. But yeah, so this fails ZN3. I don't think we can make it work, to be honest, but...
Are you sure nix-daemon which Nix is used for the verification here? Is it Nix package or nix-daemon package or?
It should be the same one. So, oh, it's a lot of output for some reason.
There are 2 gits being installed somewhere.
What?
But it worked.
Okay, this worked. This is actually, I might have a bug in my rebuild script if it doesn't work even now. Yeah, okay. That seems like a problem I have to fix then. Yeah, so never mind, ignore this. This is actually a problem for me.
Did you break your Nix now?
I totally did. But no, I think it's just something how packages for some reason doesn't get the right overlays with my custom deployment system. But yeah, so what did we want to look at again? So, I mean, that works. That all works. Yeah, so I guess that's good. I would like to try it out though. What could we do to try this out now that I've broken my stuff? So I guess let's try it setting in our local nix.conf. So if you look at man.nix.conf, there's various locations where it's read from. I'm also curious if it even works when we set it locally to just the user, because it's somewhat impure. So nix.conf, there's actually where are the files? Oh yeah, okay. Home directory .config nix.conf. Well, that's not right. I mean, this has to be documented somewhere properly. Oh yeah, here. Yeah, okay, so xtg config defaults to home and which defaults, okay. So it would be .config nix.conf. And in here, I want to say plugin files. And actually, let's look back at nix-doc here. So plugin files, well, this is a kind of fairly impure installed, yet writes to opt. We don't really want that. So we just need to point it to this file in some way. I guess nix-env installation would work. Yeah, let's use nix-env, even though I don't really like that too much. We need to make sure that we use the appropriate nix again. So I'm gonna do a. So I know how to get a nix build of the correct version now, and so I'm just gonna do this. This is like this: a config.nodes.sign.packages, I believe, or configuration.packages. That doesn't work. .nixpkgs.packages. I think that works. Yeah. Nix-doc like this. Oh, use but not defined. Okay, that doesn't work. Let's do instead. Oh, that's actually not great. Is there an underscore packages? There's no underscore packages. So what I like to have is for the nixpkgs.packages to exist. But I guess it's not set by default if you don't set it explicitly. That's a bit unfortunate. So usually let's not stick with my configuration too long, but usually you should be able to get access to this using configuration sign packages up here, I believe. Is that working? Yeah, that is working. So if you want to just know what a current package is, you should be able to do this. And then I guess this would be nix-doc here. Yeah. And this should apply the local overlays you have in your Nix configuration, so that works fairly well. Now, in my case, I should really get rid of this super custom setup, but just for now, I'm going to do configuration like this, module args sources, package source. We got some memes in the channel here. So that's fairly useful in general, actually. So just assume this is your normal configuration.nix file. And so what we can do, so we can, of course, always have arguments up here. And in this case, I want to expose this packages here, or I want to expose any value I'm using inside the module system. What you can do is just declare a new option. So actually, because I declare a new option here, I need to nest these under config, so it's not ambiguous. But I can say here the packages value. So I'm going to do lib.makeOption. We'd also have to add a lib up here to make that work. And then type is recommended. In this case, we don't really care about it. And it would be a problem if the type would evaluate the value we set in a kind of deep way. So instead, let's use types.raw. Raw is a type that doesn't get processed at all. So it's just the raw value that we set here. So I'm going to use default to set the default value, packages. And what you could also do is set read-only equals true. This way you can be sure that there's no modules trying to set this. It's like an internal thing. You could also set internal equals true. This would prevent it from being rendered in the manual if you enable this for your own options. All right, now we have this option. Let's try to evaluate it. So I'm going to try my next build, my configuration. what is my packages? What did I set it? My options equals
package something.
Oh, it's the packages value. All right. Now we can get nix-doc in here. And that worked. Very nice. And so now impure installation. Nix-conf kind of sucks, but let's go with it anyways. I just want to install this one path. So let's do it like this. And okay, I guess apparently it doesn't work anymore. So I need to use nix profile. Not sure when this happened. Right, then I need to. Is it install? I think it's install. Not including this in the directory because, okay, that seems to be something else. All right, but now we should have nix-doc available. And indeed, let's see what the command is about. Help search. Okay, this apparently can search for stuff. We are just about out of time. I did want to try this out real briefly, though. We did start a bit late. Let's go to here and let's try using built-ins in here. Let's go to our result again. And let's just set result equals built-ins dot. Now I should actually see what the plugin provides. Usage nix-doc, nix plugin doc. Print the documentation of the function f to the screen. So let's do doc f, and I'm going to define f as x plus 1, adds 1. And let's do a nix instantiate eval of the current file. It's a lambda again. Let's use the hacky trick. Did you mean diff? So that did not work, apparently. Now that's not great, but I think that solves. Oh, actually, no, we didn't add it to the Nix file down here yet. Yeah. So plugin files. This should work, I believe. Wiki-sil. I'm just going to verify just by path completion here. Well, that doesn't exist. So let's go. Where was it installed? This is the profile. And let's see. We want lib and lib nix-doc plugin.so. All right, can double file for writing. Let's do config nix make-dir-p.config nix. All right, we wrote it. And does it work? It does it. It somehow works. Not really sure what that's supposed to be. I guess it's an escape code, actually.
Colors stuff.
Yeah. Expect and the file. Oh, argstring. I've been using so many hacks in here. But yeah, okay, it actually did print it. So adds 1 function has the argument here, and it gives us the location. So yeah, that works. I'm glad we managed to get it to work in the end. All right. Well, if you have any other questions, feel free to ask them in further next hours. But anyways, thanks for